When I used to go to this Unitarian Universalist church.
What is that?
So basically, it's like, it's not exactly like, oh, we're studying when people hear universe, they're like, oh, you're studying universe. Like, you're not. Like, you may just, it's just somebody may be Muslim, somebody may be Christian, somebody may be, Jewish. Like, it's all of these different faiths coming together.
I didn't know that existed.
Oh, yeah.
And that was in Tennessee?
Yeah, it's here in Nashville. There's two of those churches.
No matter where you are in your walk with Christ, JOMILLA DENAE offers a safe space for reflection and dialogue. This is JOMILLA DENAE.
Welcome to the JOMILLA DENAE Show. I am your humble host, JOMILLA DENAE. I'm so happy to be here with my very first guest, world traveler, coffee lover, and publicist. She might be a publicist to one of your faves if you live in the Nashville area. I don't know. Lakeithia, welcome to JOMILLA DENAE.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. How are you today?
You know, I'm doing real good.
Yeah?
Yes. It's a hot Sunday.
It is hot. It's very hot. We were melting earlier. But how is life? How's the publicist life going? I know you're not doing so much now, but you still have clients, right?
I do. I still have clients. So I have 2 clients right now. They're in coffee, which I love, so that's perfect.
I was just drinking some. I can't disclose who it's from just yet. We need that sponsorship, but it's really good.
Yeah, I love coffee. I have coffee all day. I have my 9 p.m. with the Golden Girls. Yes.
9 p.m.?
9 p.m. with the Golden Girls.
Oh, she got me beat. I don't know about that. 9 p.m. is crazy.
But I'm just, just now getting back into PR. So I took a little bit of a break. So I'm happy to be back. So consulting, and then after that, property management.
Property management,
yes.
Right. Okay.
Honestly, I'm thinking about project management.
Maybe that's your next venture. I don't know. So. This girl does it all. Yes. But we're going to get into my first segment.
Okay.
We have done this before. Let's go ahead and tell the people. Okay, listen. This is our second go around. Lakeithia actually filmed with me back in January or maybe February.
I think February, yeah.
I just hit her up and I was like, listen, do you feel like doing this episode over? Because even the JOMILLA that I was back in January is not who I am now.
Yeah.
Like, this spiritual journey is crazy because it's like you do realize that you're changing every day, but it's like subtle changes. They're real small. Sometimes you do go back to that old place, but you don't stay there long. So I just wanted to be like fully transparent in the spirit of JOMILLA DENAE, which is all about being authentic, being real in my spiritual journey. And I just was like, I'm gonna try again.
Yeah.
I probably won't air that episode in its entirety, but I'll air certain little parts from it that were very real. But a lot of it was just like, I don't resonate with that anymore. Yeah. So
that happens.
We don't try this again. Isn't that crazy?
It does. It happens. I've been on this spiritual journey for a while now, and it's like, I think something you just said have been like, there is small changes that you make that you're like, you just kind of realize it. A lot of times people think with spirituality or religion, whatever, it'd be these big moments, and it's usually not. It's just you start to realize you handle things differently or you're doing things differently, and it's like, oh, okay, I have got a little change going.
That's how I feel it should be. Yeah. I don't really have the guidelines for it, but it's so shocking sometimes when people go from like one extreme to the next. Yes. Like, you're an extreme, let me just say, an extreme hoe or something. And then the next day you're an extreme angel. And it's like, that can be very possible. Yeah. But for me, like, I can't see how, because there's certain habits you have to unlearn. There's still a lot of reading you have to do. Still a lot of practicing what you read and comprehending what you read. Yeah. And I just feel like change doesn't happen overnight. So, more power to those people that feel like they can. Because, I've heard it before, especially with like older people in the church. They're like, oh, I was saved on April 17th at 7 p.m. and I haven't liked liquor since, and it's just like, oh,
yeah, okay.
I'm glad that happened to you. But it's like, that's not my story. So I can only just be me. Yes. I can only just be real with myself. So there's still things that God's working on with me. Yes. One of them had to do with my dating life, because I think I was telling you about my...
You were. Oh, my gosh.
They'll see on the clip, but I was talking about my sugar daddy. right before we filmed.
Yes.
And that sugar daddy's no longer in my life. My only daddy I have in my life is my physical one and my spiritual one right now. So not to be like Jesus, my boyfriend type of person, because never that.
That's always weird for me.
That's so weird. But I'm just in a place where I'm like, okay, I can't be using men for money, because that's what it was. And I kept on saying like, oh, I'll drop in when I do this, or I'll do, but I learned like delayed obedience is also disobedience. Ooh, like, girl, you know you're wrong.
Good. Yeah.
You know you're wrong.
You know you're wrong.
It's talking about, well, I'll cut it off this time, or after 2 weeks, after he buy me these shoes and give me this, like, girl.
After you get everything that you want.
Girl.
You know. But you're gonna always want more.
Yeah. God had to check me. So here we are again doing this you. So hopefully you don't remember, but I have a tweet here. Yes. You know how this segment goes?
I remember this segment.
Okay, so this segment, I have to explain it to you guys because this is the first episode. I will be presenting my guest with tweets or posts from social media that I found from either them or other people, and they have to guess if it was them. So the first one, I don't know. Let's see. I love God through. We in the trenches for life.
That is not me.
That's not you?
No.
It's the same one I asked her last time, y'all. She still don't know herself.
I still don't know.
That is crazy. It's you, girl. Gosh. You love God through. You in the trenches for life.
What year was that?
2023. So last year, this was 10/16/2023. If y'all don't believe me, I'm going to put it on the screen. Lakeithia, Nicole.
Oh, I did say that.
But she was laughing, so I don't know if it was a joke. Like, you put laughing emojis.
I did. Wow, maybe that was a joke.
You and God did it for the trenches? All right. Let's go to the next one.
You know what? I think that's something my friend said to me, and I tweeted it. Okay, I think that's what it was. Ooh.
Okay, here's another one. Now, I don't have a date on here for some reason. I don't know, but I think it's going on 4 years since I left the church. I still haven't gotten rid of my Bible. It's that whole hell thing. Oh, scare tactics plus trauma of Christianity.
That is definitely me.
Okay.
Yep.
So you said you still haven't gotten rid of your Bible.
Yeah.
It's that whole hell thing. What do you mean by that?
You know, when people will be like, oh, you're going to hell. Like, that's such a scary...
If you get rid of the Bible?
Well, no, just like, because...
Oh, in general.
Just in general. When I left the church, you know, I had so many people in my inbox like, oh my God misses you. You don't want to go, you know, to hell. And then, like, the church I came from, you know, I think... their greatest thing was that we really studied the Bible. You know, you think about like now, people go to church and they have their sermons, they go home, they read that one little line that the pastor did. They don't actually read the Bible through.
They don't study it.
And the church I had, we read the whole Bible. I'm like, man, this man crazy. So it was that whole scare tactic of like, damn, am I going to hell? Mm-hmm. Can I say damn? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can say
okay.
This is a safe space.
But it was like, am I going to hell? So I think for me around that time, it was that fear of what happens after. You know, once I leave this earth, what happens after? And that scared me. So I definitely held on to that Bible for a long time.
Do you still have it?
Actually, I still do have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like throwing it away is weird. I tried to give it away, and people are like,
maybe Goodwill. I think you should keep it because honestly, at the end of the day, it is a good book. It's filled with a lot of good stories that teach you a lot about morals and character, which I feel like everybody should have like a good moral compass. That's why I agree with like teaching kids the Bible at a young age, because I'm like, it's not teaching them anything wrong.
Yeah. I think for me, I battled for a long time about if I'm going to read it again or not. You know, I was actually talking to this reverend that I absolutely adore, and she was telling me, you know, a lot of times, you know, there are people who take it very literal, and then there's people who don't. Mm-hmm. You know, for me, I've learned not to take it very literal. It is, you know, it has some really great things in there about, like you said, values and morals and stuff. Mm-hmm. Will I pick it back up? Probably not. My auntie didn't going to see this. I'm sorry. I don't see myself I don't have the desire to. Okay. You know, as of right now, I don't have the desire to. But I never say never. Yeah. Because I feel like on my spiritual journey, it's definitely been full circle. you know? So you never know.
Well, I mean, let's just get right into it. That, you know, I don't have any more issues to, you know, expose on you right now, because I want to go ahead and start a conversation about like how you got to the place where, you know, you feel like the Bible is not something that you would go back to. So let's just start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Your introduction to Christ, to the Bible, to the church, like all of that.
So growing up, we didn't really go to church a lot. You know, we went when people invited us. When my great-grandmother was alive, we did have a family church that we went to. But like growing up in my household, you know, we didn't go to church. I got my first Bible when I was like 16. My godmother gave me a Bible, and it was like a children's version of the Bible because she felt like I didn't know it. So she's like, hey, you got to have it. And I would go to church with them some Sundays. They didn't go a lot either, but we went, you know, and I honestly didn't think nothing of it or about it. It just wasn't my everyday part of my everyday life. Like praying and all that stuff wasn't a part of my everyday life. In college, I had a mentor who went to Mount Zion, and she was like, you got to start coming to church with me. And me and my roommate, my best friend, we started to go to church. We went to Mount Zion a couple times. There was a long service, and you know, they feed you and stuff. I'm like, we cannot keep getting back to campus at 3 p.m. Yeah. So we found the local church, First Baptist, Pastor McCarroll.
That's in Murfreesboro. Shout out to First Baptist. I also visited them when I went to school.
Love that church. But I got baptized. I got really active in the church and everything.
Wow. Wait. You got baptized?
I did get baptized. Don't ask me what year.
Girl, that was a big shift.
I got baptized and everything. In the midst of all of that, I was still dealing with depression and anxiety really bad. I had depression since high school. I didn't know what it was at that time. You know, one of the things I would try to do is like I would redesign my room, redesign who I was. Like I was constantly trying to find my happy, my peace. And I always thought like it was something in me, something was wrong with me. You know, like, oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And church was one of the things that like, you know, my auntie, my friends, and my mentor, everybody was like, you know, just keep chasing God. It'll get better, get better, get better. And that was more so my introduction at church of trying to hopefully God will heal me because I am super depressed. Like I was very angry. I was mad at the world. I was very depressed. I was very sad. And I started turning to alcohol. I was drinking all the time. And I'm very like, I can be quiet, but then I can't. I think the older I've gotten now, I just, you know, I'm not that quiet. But like going to parties and stuff, like, man, I used to be so drunk. Like I used to be so drunk, but that was the only way that I could go out and just have fun and
escape.
Not escape. I turned to sex. You know, I was popping. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you.
And it was just like an escape. It was that escape of trying to find something. And then I went to therapy. My first therapist, he fell asleep in our session.
No, he did not.
Girl, he fell asleep. He was knocked out. It was through MTSU.
Oh, I'd be so offended. What do you mean? He
was sleeping. I was just sitting there like, okay, do I have to leave? What do I do?
And then he boring woke you, up, sir? Like what?
He started comparing me to his wife in a boat. And
sounds like he needed to go to therapy himself.
He was about to retire. I found that out after I left out. And the lady was like, how did it go? And I'm like, he sleep. And then he woke up. He started talking about his boat again.
Dang, Joe. Sleepy Joe.
He was asleep. But yeah, I was, you know, my body, I got really sick. The depression had gotten so bad that I got like super sick. I was constantly in and out of the emergency room, having abdominal pain and stuff. And it was just really breaking my body down. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And, you know, the journey from like church, depression and how all of that split for me was I went to my pastor at the time and I was, you know, telling him like I've tried therapy. I keep coming to church. I'm praying every day. I'm doing everything that I can. And I started becoming really angry with God. I didn't like God because I didn't understand why everybody around me was just living life in my, like I've never saw myself in my 30s. I never saw that. I've never, like, people planning out weddings and kids and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm just trying to make it to the next day. Jesus. It was really dark. And I remember him pulling out the Bible and he kept giving me these verses. And I'm like, I stopped him and I was like, listen, I hear you, but something's going on and it ain't nothing to do with these verses. And I remember leaving and like crying and screaming in my car in the parking lot. And I was like, okay, this isn't helping. And I moved home. I moved back home, moved back to my mama's house, and I went to a doctor. And I remember I went to this Black doctor, and I was like, listen, I done tried church. I done tried therapy. Nothing's working. Some people had told me about medicine. And he actually told me no, because he said that he didn't believe in medicine. And he was going to get me with another therapist. She was nice, but still nothing was happening. So I went to another doctor and actually got on medicine. I actually got put on some medicine, and it was great. Like you start to see that fog like leave and stuff. And then I was like, okay, let's try church again. This was kind of the icing on the cake.
Oh Lord.
I had my medicine. I was,
at a better place.
In a better place, but I was still really depressed. I was still very unhappy. Very tired. Like at this time, I was like, I just got this much left in me. I was very tired. And I joined this church, and I was like, okay, people say, dig in. God is going to change it. God is going to take this depression away. God is going to do all this stuff. And I literally became holier than whole, okay? I became celibate. I was like, I didn't listen to any music.
Extremes.
I was like at church 6 days a week. I was very active. I was praying. I was stuff, and I was still depressed. Heck, I was just like,
just playing church.
Just playing church.
Going through the motions.
And I literally changed my life around, and nothing was really happening. And it started to make me sick. I would go, I was a greeter at the time, and I remember one time being in church, couldn't breathe, and I went to sit outside, and it was like every time I would go, I would get this anxious feeling, like going up the steps, I was like, I could not breathe. And I was like, I had that part of it where it was just like church was suffocating me, because I had already was dealing with clinical depression and depression where you don't know what's wrong, right? Because there's that one part of depression where like maybe you lost someone, maybe you lost your job, or your boyfriend broke up with you, you're going through divorce, and you're just sad, you're going through depression, you're having that moment, right?
Yeah.
But I had that type of depression where I couldn't pinpoint it, what was going on within my body. And I remember the pastor told me one time, he's like, oh, it's just the world, you're out there, you're constantly striving in the world and you're overwhelmed. And I'm like, no, I'm doing this here too. Because every Sunday I get here and there's a new thing that you're telling me that I'm not doing, and that's why God isn't healing me, right?
Yeah.
You're like, every sermon is this like scare tactic, or you're not doing enough, you're not doing enough, you're not doing enough. I'm like, damn.
Condemnation.
I'm tired. Like I'm tired, and was breaking me down even more. So I had that one part, but then I had the other part of church was like I said, it was great because you actually had to read your Bible. A lot of our workshops and stuff, like you had to deeply read the Bible. And I read the Bible for the first time, like actually read it, not just where like the pastor said something. I read that sermon, and I read that scripture, and it was great. Then I was reading it, and I'm like, hey, what's this? This is crazy. It just wasn't resonating with me. And I remember like going to the pastor and being like, yeah, can you explain this part to me? Because this guy don't seem that nice to me. And he was just like, oh, you got to come with it from a different view or a different eye and stuff. And I just didn't resonate with a lot of the
Did he try to explain it?
I think at some point he just got tired of my questions. So, which is fine. I think it's understandable. They have their theology, their way. Questions. But, I think what I found is that they are taught to teach it in a certain way, right? When I used to go to this Unitarian Universalist church.
What is that?
So basically it's like a little bit of it's not exactly like, oh, we're studying when people hear universe, they're like, oh, you studying universe, like you're not. Like you may it's just somebody may be Muslim, somebody may be Christian, somebody may be Jewish. Like it's all of these different faiths coming together.
I didn't know that existed.
Oh yeah.
And that was in Tennessee?
Yeah. It's here in Nashville. There's two of those churches. And it is very beautiful. I love it. Right now I've been attending Infinity Fellowship, which I love too, because like with Infinity, again, it's different people from different walks of faith. And it's like you're gonna learn, but you take what you learn and you go with your own faith and expand on it.
Okay.
So it's not, you know, we're not teaching from a Bible or anything. And, you know, just because I am a very spiritual person, very connected, but at the same time, I'm not connected when it comes to biblical.
This episode of JOMILLA DENAE is sponsored by the Nail Lounge Hermitage. The Nail Lounge Hermitage has every color, every type, every style. They simply have it all. Coffee on deck, designs on fleek, and low prices? You can get that only at the Nail Lounge Hermitage.
So let's talk about that, because you said it was something that you read in the Bible, and then you were questioning, you know, your source of guidance, and he kind of was like, "You're getting on my nerves with all these questions." So first of all, what was it in the Bible that you saw? Because I know there's a lot of questionable things, especially when it comes to like women and how we're supposed to be treated in the church and stuff like that. So what do you remember specifically what it was or what it was about that you read?
It wasn't exactly just the whole thing of like women and, you know, things like that. People relate a lot to that, like, you know, as far as like women and slavery and all of those practices and all of that. But at the same time, I think there was just actions from God himself of the killings and all of that. I don't really believe in all the suffering. I think that, you know,
suffering is a big part of Christianity.
It's a big part of Christianity, and that's something they teach a lot on. Yeah. And that's just something that I don't personally resonate with. And I think maybe if I didn't struggle with depression and suffer for so long, I probably would. Yeah. But for me, I don't want to live my life thinking about suffering. And the thing is, we do suffer. As a human experience, we suffer loss, we suffer grief, we suffer... there's so many different things going on in this world. I don't meditate on it. You know what I'm saying? That's just a part of life. But I think that to constantly think that in order for me to have something, in order for me to get something, I think we romanticize suffering a little bit too much. Like everything has to be a struggle. Everything has to be a suffer. And that's not something I resonate with. That's something I don't want to live my life through. And that's things that I didn't understand. I don't understand killing somebody in order to teach a lesson. You know, I think that some people do, and you know, it's a lot of us on this planet. Things are gonna resonate with us differently. Yeah. Even when it comes to the lessons that we get. I was just watching somebody's podcast, and they were just talking about that, like, you know, the more you suffer, and God is just, you know, he's trying to teach you this lesson, and I personally that's not something I want to. You
want a gentle love.
Huh? I want a gentle love, and I'm not afraid to say that anymore. Yeah. That I want a gentle love, and, you know, the things that I come from, the things that I've been through, whether that's relationships, whether that's, you know, even with people with like my dad, you know, like my dad is homeless and he's on drugs, and, you know, I was talking to somebody recently about it, and they was like, you know, I was like, listen, I don't really want to.
Sometimes you don't want to be preached to.
I don't want to be preached to.
And that's something that Christians have bad, you know, because we understand what the Bible says and what God told us. And it's not even just suffering. You know, he put the long in front of that in the Bible. He said long suffering. So you're going to be suffering for a long time as a Christian. And I can understand, you know, once I hear your story and what you've been through, I can understand that. Yeah. Like, I can empathize with that, because sometimes I question God and, like, did I really have to go through this lesson, God? Like, there was another way you could have taught me. Like, come on. You know, I've been through everything. I'm not your strongest soldier.
I think God and I think life, you're going to always have lessons. I just don't romanticize them. I just don't look for the suffering in any and everything that I get in my life. I just don't wake up every day, and I don't subscribe to it. Listen, I'm not gonna be your ride or die and suffer and all of these things. I'm not gonna make my life harder than it already is. Life. This world makes things hard.
Human experience. Yeah,
you know, and I'm not gonna make it harder just because there's supposed to be a lesson in it.
I can understand that. Have you ever seen the movie Inside Out?
No, is this
it's a cartoon. It's a Pixar
everyone's
cartoon,
talking about with all the feelings and emotions and stuff? I haven't. I said I wanted to see it.
I feel like you should watch it, though, because I do understand what you're saying. Like, my perspective is kind of like Joy. So there's a character named Joy, and there's a character named Sadness. And Joy, wherever Joy went, Sadness would come with her.
Yes.
And she was just like, Sadness like, can I come with you to the, this part of the brain or whatever? She was like, girl, wherever I go, you come. And it just made you think like, dang, I guess that is true. Like, we can't really experience joy for what it is without the bad. And it's like a hard truth, but I get the part where you said you don't want to like romanticize it. And I do feel like in the church sometimes they, they're always preaching about the suffering and blah, 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 blah. But it's like, sometimes it's like, God, we want the lesson without all of the extra. And then sometimes it didn't seem fair. Like, as a person who read Job and like one of your best servants, you have them going through all this stuff. But it's like, okay, but at the end of it, it was like, it was beautiful and it was great. But it's like, did he really have to do all that? So I understand like where you're coming from for sure when you say like, I don't want to say they romanticize it. I don't know if romanticize is the right word.
But I know what you mean. I know what I mean. Like, yes, maybe not romanticize it, but I think that, one of the things that saved my life, which is therapy.
Yeah, talk about that.
Which was one of the best things that could have happened to me. And it also taught me how to be very in touch with my emotions and feelings. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a very emotional person. Me too. And that's the thing. Like, I get sad. I still deal, with depression. Depression never goes away, right? You just kind of learn your tools. You learn, your
not
safety.
To dwell in it.
Yes. And that's the same thing with sadness. And that's the same thing with joy. Like, you're not going to be happy all the time. You're not going to be joyful all the time. You're not going to be sad all the time. I let things be what they are. Right? Like, if I'm having a bad day, I'm having a bad day. If I'm sad, I'm sad. If I'm heartbroken, I'm heartbroken. Like, I don't just be like, oh my God. And like, I don't dwell in it. I don't sit in it. Right. Mm-hmm. And then also like, I can get very quiet, and I appreciate learning how to get quiet. So if I'm going through, a sad moment and I need to sit with it, I sit with it, but I don't sit in it for too long. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something I've been taught. I heard a reverend actually say one time, like,
I was about to say, who
learn
taught you?
how to be okay with just being okay.
Okay.
And I think that's the thing. It's like, if you be like, hey, how's your day going? I'm like, oh, I'm just okay. People get offended sometimes. They're like, you're not good? I'm just okay. Yeah. And that's okay. Like, but but also, God didn't put us here to just have an okay life. God did not just put us here to just be suffering and sad. He said
we're supposed to have joy that everlasting.
So I think that's what it is.
I think,
and I'll give you an example of what I mean. Like, I had the church I used to go to. We was reading this book, and it came with a workbook. And every week we would read this chapter. We fill out this workbook and stuff. And then on Wednesday, the next Wednesday, we would share it. And for like 3 Wednesdays, I didn't have nothing to share. So finally she was like, are you not doing the book? And I'm like, no, not really. And she was like, why? I was like, because I've worked on enough right now. I feel like God is calling me to just
be still.
You worked on enough. Like, why?
You have to constantly be working on something.
We're constantly working on something.
Let me just practice what I've learned.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. It's like, once I kind of like, I did the first 3 chapters, and it was great. And I was in a good place. And it was like, I feel like I was just called to just be there. Be in that good space before you start deciding God is teaching you another lesson. And here's another lesson, and then we wonder why we're tired. Mm-hmm. It's because we don't learn to just be in the space that we're in before we jump to the next thing. And I think a lot of that has to do with, social media and stuff. We gotta have a lesson so we can teach other people a lesson. Like, oh, I gotta have something so I can write this long paragraph.
That's the number one trending content. It's educational content. Yep. We're always trying to learn
and
something.
Sometimes we don't actually get the lesson because we're too busy trying to get the lesson for other people. And
Speak
then it's
on
like, yo, just
get it for yourself.
Just get it for yourself. Just let yourself be there. But yeah.
So where do you feel now with your spiritual journey? I want to ask, where are you now? And then also some of the good that you got from the church or nuggets you took. Because you told me that you don't go to that church anymore, but you are a part of another church.
Yes.
So can you kind of speak on this new church? Because you said it's different faiths, which is very interesting and almost like unreal to me because I did not know that existed. But I've always thought about that. Like, wouldn't that be so beautiful of different people coming together to serve one God, but they might call them different names. I don't know.
And that's what it is, right? Because we all believe in God, but we definitely, it comes in different ways, right? For different people, it's, as far as the religion part of God.
Right. That's why I'm interested in how the preachings are be.
Like, yeah, it's actually really cool. Like, it's, even when we, like, even after he prayed, we say all the different things. So, so, like, whatever,
Shalom, amen.
We go through the whole list. Like, it is like, it's so welcoming for everybody. We go through the whole list.
That's kind of beautiful.
He starts the church service with our ancestors and watering plant for anybody that has passed away that you are remembering today. You'll go from
not something we see
a
often.
gospel song to like Earth, Wind, and Fire. Is the craziest
No
thing.
way.
It's so good. Yeah, it's like, it's
lit.
It's like it is very lit.
Okay.
But like also what I love about the sermons they are about the human experience of being in community, but also, like this past sermon, I was like, okay, he read all of us.
Yeah.
But he was talking about like, your spiritual journey, your religious journey, whatever that is for you. Like he always says, like, listen, I don't define it for you. Like you're in here, you get to define it for yourself. But a lot of times we have these, these things that we want to do. We have these habits that we want to, that we have, but it's like we're not practicing, right? We're not getting in touch with ourselves spiritually. We're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. And we're wondering why our life just seems to be chaotic. And it's the same as if you was in church and they were talking about like, you're not praying, you're not coming to church, you're not, but he takes it in a way of whatever your spiritual practice are you actually putting them in practice, right? Because in order to actually see a difference in your life, you have to put those things in practice. So whatever that is for you, are you putting those things in practice? And I just love it. For me, I love the church. This is something I know that I will continue to grow in this church. That. Now, far as like my relationship with God is very personal, and I love it. Now, as I grew, I don't know, like people say like, oh, God is a man. I don't know what God is, but I just know that he's there.
God is God.
God is God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I used to try to define it to make other people comfortable.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? I used to try to define it, and I struggle with that. That was my biggest struggle. It's like, I don't want nobody to be uncomfortable. I don't want nobody to be, feel this way. I don't really care. Like, I can't define what God is. I don't know. God's just the universe. He's a man. He's whatever, but I know
what God is for
to me, and I think that's been the most important.
It is.
I pray, pray, but I also meditate, and I know some people don't believe in that. I meditate. I do. Okay, I have like different spiritual practices that I absolutely adore and I love, and it has definitely made me a better person. I'm not angry. I'm not sad, but I'm also not looking for an outside entity to save me. I work on me.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's been the biggest like change for me. And like what I've learned just from church, whether it's Infinity or just being at like the Baptist church that I was baptized in and stuff like that, is one community.
Yes, because that's what church is.
Church is so important for
that. It's not your spirituality. It's not your walk with Christ. It's literally a community.
It's a community.
And it's to keep you accountable.
Yes.
And it seems like that's what's been happening with this new church.
Oh, yes.
It's just the delivery. It's a little better.
The delivery is different. Some people will love it. Some people won't.
Yes.
Because some people need certain language or certain focus and all of that, which is, absolutely fine. I found my focus. I found what works for me.
Yes.
And it's community. It's, I love being in community with people, but I love being in community with people from different walks of life, because I think that we do life every day with people from all different backgrounds. And I think a lot of times that's what people struggle with.
Yeah.
They don't know how to do community.
They get in their own world.
So to be able to have connection and conversation with people from different walks of life, you really start to grow.
I would think that's what God wanted.
Yes.
I don't know. Community sounds a bit like what Jesus was doing when he was here. So
that's so true, which is crazy because we
bringing people together.
We bring people. He brings people together from all walks of life, and I don't think you have to preach to them. You just let people be who they are.
Yeah.
You know, and I do believe in correction, right?
Of course.
We think about like our friendships and people that we talk to, and if somebody see me doing something that, like I was telling you before the camera started rolling, there was a guy who told me like, you have such a nasty attitude. And I was like, dang, that's so crazy, because I wish somebody would have said that to me sooner. Because that was kind of like the first thing of like, dang, I really am angry, but we don't like that no more. We too sensitive now in the world.
Yeah. But I think it's all about finding what's right for you.
Yes.
So, like, in conclusion, I'm so happy for you that you found a healthy space to still have that community, still like nourish your relationship with God, and go feeling good and not have to leave feeling so like beaten and worn, because that really can affect your walk with Christ or whatever your spiritual journey if you go to the wrong church.
If you go to the wrong church.
So you found the right church, and I'm happy for you, and I'm proud of you for not giving up.
Thank you.
Getting through like the hard times, the struggle as it is. But, now it seems like you're like kind of on the other side and growing. And I hope that, somebody watching this will be encouraged to not give up. Just because you had a bad experience with a certain church. There are other churches out there, apparently.
There's a lot of
Unitarian churches.
Yes.
So, at the end of this, if you want to reach out to me or Lakeithia about churches, feel free to. That's the whole point of this show. Yes. So thank you so much. That was so great. Like,
thank you for having me.
I did not know
again.
that. Of course. Yeah, that was a good conversation. I know we're kind of running over time, but we do have to do our last segment. Our last two segments.
Yes. Okay.
So the first one is Hell is Hot. You remember that one?
I remember that one, yes.
Okay. I'm just going to give you like maybe two people since we're running low on time.
Okay.
So Hell is Hot is a segment where we know we don't have a heaven or hell to put anyone in. This is all hypothetical. We're going to guess where these deceased people are, heaven or hell. So the first person, Eartha Kitt.
Oh.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
I had to actually look up if she passed, because I was like, I haven't heard from her in a while. But yeah, she passed in 2018.
Heaven.
I'm just
going to say heaven, yo.
Why do you feel like Eartha Kitt's in heaven?
I mean, look at the name.
She's from the earth. No, that was a phenomenal woman for sure.
She was definitely a phenomenal woman and a very feisty and heaven needs her.
I think she's in heaven as well.
I think she's in heaven.
I hope so. Hey, Earth.
Hey, girl.
Okay, what about Robin Williams? Now, this death broke me, y'all. I was not ready. I feel like he still had some good years in him.
He definitely had some good years in
him.
I don't even know
why
his story scared me.
Did he off himself?
Yep. That's what scared me, because you think about like when you get over your depression, not get over it, but you're like, I'm like, I hope I never get to an older age and just be like, still can't take it no more. So
still not satisfied. Something's still missing. Yeah.
That one scared me a lot. Actually, I think about that one a lot, and I'm going to say heaven, and I think he's up there making people laugh.
Okay.
Yep.
I hope so.
I hope that he found that peace.
Yeah. Because, a lot of people say if you do go that way, you won't make it to heaven. But I'm like, how do y'all know?
How do you know?
That's crazy.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Yes.
All right. So that's our Hell is Hot segment. We're going to go to the last one, which is Bop of the Week.
Oh, man.
We didn't have time to think about this. Yes. So we'll go to a little break real quick if you need some time.
I actually got one.
You got one?
Yes.
All right. Well, come on with it.
So my Bop of the Week is Sabrina Carpenter, because
oh my God. Is it that please, please, please? Oh my God.
I'm going to go see her in concert. I'm going to put on a wig
sing,
with a little dress.
She can sing. And that's a very like happy feeling song. Yes. Yeah. It's such a girly song.
Such a girly song. She's such a girly. So I was just like, I think I'm going to go see her in San Francisco.
Okay. Yeah. That's nice.
What's yours?
I hadn't even thought about mine. I was really doing the break for me.
Okay.
But since we're here, a song that I can't escape is really all of the songs on Meg Thee Stallion's latest album. Of course, the Mumashi song. I'm a Star Stop. That one. But then there's another one that's like, Can't Touch Me Like Mojo. Look good on my photos. Let's land it in Quijote. So you ever heard that? Arigato.
I haven't listened to her album.
I don't know. I be feeling like I'm international. I be feeling like a fluent queen.
Yes, world traveler.
World traveler. I think she's definitely influenced me because I want to go to Japan. And I've heard good things about how they treat Black people in Japan. And it's just really futuristic and clean and all of the things. And I'm like, now I want to go to Japan. And I'm like, dang, am I being influenced?
Yes. Go.
Not everybody, Black person want to go to Japan. But yeah, that's been on my
I will listen to her
my
album.
rotation.
I haven't heard it.
Really? It got some good ones on there. Like, I wouldn't say the whole album is just like Tina Snow material because you know Tina Snow, no skips.
That was good.
But it's cute.
Yeah,
it's fun. Shout out to Meg the Stallion. All right, thank you guys for watching. I am JOMILLA DENAE. I don't know who needs to hear this, but do not do life without God. And remember, at the end of the day, all that matters is what you do for Him. Thank you to my guest, Lakeithia.
Thank you.
And thank you guys. Until next time, I'm JOMILLA DENAE.